Have you ever noticed a strange kind of emptiness that comes right after you achieve the things you thought you wanted? What if the life you have spent years building, the career, the relationships, the image you show the world, suddenly feels like it belongs to someone else? Most people do not realize that the deepest form of exhaustion does not come from doing too much. It comes from doing exactly what you were told to do, only to realize you left yourself behind. If you have ever felt stuck in a life that looks perfect on paper, but feels entirely hollow on the inside, this is for you. Stay until the end, because the final lesson may change the way you see this period of uncertainty forever. 1. The wake-up call of a borrowed life. There is a quiet panic that sets in when you finally stop moving. For years, you kept your head down. You followed the rules. You chased the milestones. You tried to be a good partner, a successful worker, a reliable friend. You built a house out of other people's expectations, and you moved inside. But lately, you wake up and wonder, is this it? Is this truly mine? You feel a deep, unshakable doubt. You are surrounded by the life you built, yet you feel like a stranger in your own home. You smile, you nod, you keep playing the part. But inside, the silence is deafening. Buddhist wisdom teaches us about the profound nature of illusion. We suffer not because the world is inherently cruel, but because we attach ourselves so deeply to ideas of who we are supposed to be. We mistake the roles we play for our true nature. In Buddhist thought, this sudden realization, this heavy feeling of lost identity, is not a failure. It is an awakening. It is the very moment the illusion begins to crack. Imagine a beautifully carved, intricate wooden cage. For years, you worked tirelessly to build it, polishing the bars, making the inside as comfortable as possible. You made it so safe and familiar that you completely forgot it was a cage. But one day, a quiet breeze blows through the room, carrying the fresh scent of rain and the vast, open sky. Suddenly, the comfort feels suffocating. The polished wood feels cold. The cage is still beautiful, but for the first time, you look down and realize you have wings. This is exactly what happens when you begin questioning your path in the modern world. Maybe you are sitting at a desk, doing a job you fought incredibly hard to get, but your spirit feels entirely drained. Maybe you are in a situation where you have compromised so much of your own voice that you no longer know what you actually believe. You look at your daily routine, your habits, the way you spend your time, and you realize you have been performing. You have been living a script written by your family, your society, or simply your own fear of falling behind. Ask yourself, if no one was watching, would you still choose the life you have today? What are you holding on to simply because you spent so much time building it? Pause. Breathe. Do not rush to fix this uncomfortable feeling. Do not panic because the ground beneath you suddenly feels unsteady. Let the doubt rise. Observe the uncertainty without making it your enemy, because the pain of realizing you are living a borrowed life is the exact pain needed to start finding your real one. The confusion is not a punishment, it is a compass. But stepping out of that beautifully carved cage means confronting the safety of the character you have played for so long. And this is where the next truth begins. Because the heaviest burden you carry is not your daily responsibilities. It is the invisible, crushing weight of pretending. Here is a truth few people want to face. The most exhausting thing you will ever do is try to be the person everyone else expects you to be. You know this exhaustion well. It is not the kind of tiredness that can be cured by a long night of sleep. It is the deep, spiritual exhaustion of constantly adjusting yourself to fit into rooms where you do not truly belong. It is the fatigue of keeping the peace by swallowing your own voice. You smile when you are hurting. You say yes when your entire being is quietly pleading to say no. You bend, twist, and reshape your choices, so that others will find you acceptable, responsible, or easy to love. You have become a masterpiece of adaptation, but in the process of making sure everyone else is comfortable, you have made yourself completely homeless in your own life. Buddhist wisdom teaches that much of our suffering comes from clinging to a false sense of self. We construct a rigid identity built out of praise, expectations, and the fear of rejection. We wear this heavy armor everywhere, terrified that if we take it off, we will be vulnerable and alone. One of the deepest lessons of Buddhism is the practice of non-attachment. This does not just mean letting go of possessions, it means letting go of the false identity you have so desperately tried to maintain. It is the realization that you are not your titles, your achievements, or the pleasing image you project into the world. Imagine a person standing in a grand hall, holding up a heavy stone ceiling with both hands. For years, their muscles ache, their arms tremble, and their breathing is shallow. They are terrified to let go, because they are convinced the ceiling will crush them. They believe their only worth comes from bearing this immense weight. But one day, out of pure, unbearable exhaustion, their arms drop, and a miraculous thing happens. The ceiling does not fall. It was supported by solid pillars the whole time. The crushing burden they were carrying was entirely self-imposed. The only thing they achieved by holding up the ceiling was preventing themselves from walking freely out the open door. This is exactly what happens when you live for the approval of others. You take on the immense weight of your family's expectations. You carry the burden of maintaining a flawless image. You drain your spirit, trying to be the perfect employee, the unfailing partner, the reliable friend, terrified that if you drop the mask for even a second, everything around you will collapse. You worry that if you show your true, uncertain, quietly shifting self, the people you love will turn away. Think about your own life. Who are you performing for? What are you afraid will happen if you simply stop holding up the ceiling? Is the love you receive worth the price of hiding who you really are? Pause, breathe, let your shoulders drop. Observe the tension you are holding right now, simply trying to keep this false image intact. You do not need to hold it all together today. Let the mask slip, because true peace is never found in becoming what the world wants you to be. It is found in having the quiet strength to finally rest in who you are. But laying down the mask brings up a new, heavy fear. You look at the years you spent building this borrowed life, and a quiet panic whispers that you have wasted your time. And this is where the next truth begins, because the mind will always try to convince you that it is too late to start over. 3. The illusion of wasted time. What if the years you think you lost were exactly what you needed to find your way out? Here is the truth few people want to face. When you finally realize the life you built is not truly yours, the first thing that hits you is not freedom, it is grief. You look back at the past 5, 10, or 20 years, and a heavy sorrow sets in. You look at the energy you poured into the wrong career, the sacrifices you made for a relationship that drained you, or the decades spent chasing a dream you did not actually want. You begin to panic. You tell yourself that you are too late. You feel entirely behind in life. You believe that because you spent so long walking in the wrong direction, you have permanently missed your chance at peace. Buddhist wisdom teaches us to look closely at our attachment to the past. We suffer deeply because we cling to the idea of a linear timeline, a rigid schedule of where we should be by a certain age. But in Buddhist thought, the concept of impermanence reminds us that there is no fixed destination. Time is not a race where you can fall behind. Suffering arises when we drag the ghosts of our past into the living reality of our present. Imagine a tiny seed buried deep under heavy, cold soil. For weeks, it sits in complete darkness. It struggles against the dirt. It exerts immense energy pushing downwards. moving deeper into the shadows rather than reaching for the sky. To the seed, this time might feel like a terrible mistake. It feels trapped, lost, and entirely buried. But what the seed does not know is that it is building a root system. All that time in the dark was never wasted. Without those deep, invisible roots forged in the struggle, the plant would never have the strength to survive the wind once it finally breaks into the light. This is exactly how we must look at the years we feel we have wasted. In modern life, we are surrounded by a culture of comparison. You scroll through social media and see peers reaching milestones, buying homes, settling into perfect careers, while you are standing in the rubble of a life you are trying to dismantle. You feel a profound shame for wanting to start over at 30, 40, or 50. You mourn the years spent studying a subject you despise, or working a job that broke your spirit, but you did not waste that time. You were in the dark, building roots. You were learning exactly what you do not want. You were gathering the deep, hard-earned wisdom required to finally choose authenticity over comfort. Think about your own life. Are you letting the fear of a wasted past steal the clarity of your present? What if every wrong turn you took was actually a necessary step to realizing what your soul truly needs? Pause, breathe. Forgive yourself for not knowing then what you know now. Let the feeling of regret rise, but do not make it your home. Observe the thought of being too late and simply let it drift away like a cloud across an open sky. Because peace is not found in wishing for a different past. It is found in standing firmly in the present, completely unburdened by the years behind you. You are exactly where you need to be to begin again. But once you release the heavy anchor of the past, you are left floating in an incredibly unfamiliar space. And this is where the next truth begins. Because having no idea what comes next is terrifying until you realize it is a profound gift. 4. The gift of uncertainty. What if the confusion you are feeling right now is not a sign that you are lost, but a sign that you are finally waking up? Here is the truth about human nature. We are absolutely terrified of empty space. When you realize the life you built is not yours, the immediate instinct is to panic. You want to instantly replace the old plan with a new plan. You desperately search for a new label, a new career, a new definitive purpose to cling to. The feeling of not knowing what comes next feels like free-falling in the dark. You are so used to having a destination that the sheer vastness of having no immediate direction feels like a failure. You assume that if you are confused, something must be terribly wrong. Buddhist wisdom teaches us to look at this empty space entirely differently. In Buddhist thought, there is a profound power in the beginner's mind, a state of openness, eagerness, and a lack of preconceptions. When you think you know everything about your life, your mind is full, rigid, and closed. But when you are uncertain, your mind is finally empty enough to receive something new. The void you are terrified of is not a dead end. It is a clearing. It is the sacred pause between who you were and who you are becoming. Imagine a dense, ancient forest early in the morning, suddenly enveloped by a thick, heavy fog. You are standing on a path, and the fog is so absolute that you cannot see more than a few feet in any direction. The instinct is to run, to panic, to blindly swing your arms and rush forward just to feel like you are making progress. But running in the fog only leads to exhaustion and injury. The fog is not an enemy, it is a brilliant teacher. It forces you to stop walking on autopilot. It forces you to stand completely still, to quiet your breathing, and to finally listen to the sounds of the forest around you. This is exactly what uncertainty is doing in your life right now. In a modern world that demands constant motion, relentless productivity, and immediate answers, a period of deep confusion is a radical pause. You quit the job in your mind, but you do not know what is next. You step back from a draining social circle, and your weekends suddenly feel terrifyingly open. You sit in your room and feel the heavy silence of not knowing your next move. You want to rush into a new project, a new relationship, or a new distraction just to avoid the quiet. But rushing only builds another borrowed life. The confusion is exactly what you need. It is stripping away the old scripts. Ask yourself, why does the empty space terrify you so much? What are you rushing to figure out, simply to avoid sitting alone with yourself? Pause, breathe, let the fog surround you. Do not force an answer to appear before it is ready. Stop trying to desperately map out a future you have not even grown into yet, because peace is not found in having everything figured out. It is found in being entirely comfortable with not knowing. The quiet strength you seek begins the moment you stop fighting the uncertainty and let it hold you. But resting in this quiet space is difficult when the world is constantly demanding an explanation. And this is where the next truth begins. Because stepping into your authentic life requires you to do the one thing we are taught to fear most. 5. The courage to disappoint. What if the price of finding your true path is letting someone else down? Here is the truth few people want to face. You cannot build an authentic life while simultaneously holding on to everyone else's approval. When you first begin to step away from the life you borrowed, a sudden, heavy wave of guilt washes over you. You think about your parents, who sacrificed so much for you to be exactly where you are. You think about your colleagues, your partner, or your friends who have grown entirely comfortable with the version of you that never causes friction. You realize that choosing your own peace will inevitably disrupt theirs, and so you freeze. You would rather slowly betray yourself every single day than face the sharp, immediate pain of disappointing someone you care about. Buddhist wisdom teaches us to look deeply at our attachment to validation. We suffer immensely because we place the keys to our happiness in hands we cannot control. We try to shapeshift, bending our reality to avoid the disapproval of others. But in Buddhist thought, true compassion does not mean setting your own spirit on fire just to keep other people warm. The practice of non-attachment means letting go of the desperate need to be understood, agreed with, or cheered on by the world around you. Imagine a grand, ancient tree standing at the edge of a forest as autumn approaches. The air grows cold, and the time comes for the tree to shed its leaves. It does not look at the changing sky and ask for permission. It does not apologize to the earth for dropping what is dead. It does not cling to the heavy, dying foliage just because the animals might prefer the shade. It simply lets go. It understands that releasing the old is the only way to survive the coming winter. The tree does not worry about how its bare branches will be judged by the forest. It simply rests in its own quiet strength, trusting the rhythm of its own existence. This is exactly the courage you are being called to cultivate in the modern world. Think of the intense pressure you feel at family gatherings when you have to explain why you stepped back from a successful career, or why you are choosing a simpler, quieter path. Think of the anxiety that grips your chest when you set a firm boundary with someone who has always benefited from your lack of them. You waste so much precious energy trying to craft the perfect explanation, hoping that if you just find the right words, they will understand and grant you permission to change. But you do not need their permission. You do not need them to understand a journey they are not walking. Ask yourself, who are you so terrified of disappointing? And why are you willing to abandon your own soul just to keep their image of you intact? Pause. Breathe. Notice the heavy guilt sitting in your chest right now. Let the feeling rise without making it your compass. You can deeply love the people in your life without allowing their expectations to govern yours. Speak your truth, act with kindness, and then release the outcome of their reaction. Because true freedom is not found in making everyone around you comfortable. It is found in making peace with the fact that sometimes you will not. You are not responsible for how the world digests your truth. But once the noise of external expectations finally fades away, it leaves behind an overwhelming quiet. And this is where the next truth begins. Because in that deep silence, you are finally forced to listen to the one voice you have ignored the longest. 6. The silence of true desire. What if the reason you cannot figure out what you want is simply because it is too loud inside your mind? Here is a truth that is deeply uncomfortable. We are terrified of silence. From the moment you wake up, you flood your mind with noise. You turn on a screen, you listen to a voice, you immerse yourself in work, you fill every empty gap in your schedule with relentless motion. The second you are left alone with your own thoughts in a quiet room, a profound discomfort sets in, and you immediately reach for a distraction. You do this not because you are bored, but because you know that if you sit in the quiet long enough, your own truth will finally speak. You have spent years burying your true desires under layers of logic, duty, and practical planning. You expect your life's purpose to announce itself with a loud, dramatic revelation. But true desire rarely shouts, it whispers. And right now, the noise of your borrowed life is entirely drowning it out. Buddhist wisdom teaches us the profound necessity of stillness. We suffer because our minds are constantly agitated, reacting to every stimulus, constantly seeking the next external input. In Buddhist thought, the mind is often compared to a pool of muddy water. When you are constantly moving, stressed, and searching for answers outside of yourself, you are relentlessly kicking up the dirt. You cannot see the bottom. But the practice of mindfulness is not about jumping into the water and trying to force the mud down with your hands. It is simply about sitting still and allowing the mud to settle on its own. Imagine a deep, isolated mountain lake during a heavy storm. The wind whips the surface into a chaotic frenzy of crashing waves and churning foam. If you look down into the water, you cannot see anything but the turbulence. You cannot see the life beneath the surface, and you certainly cannot see the sky above. But when the storm finally passes, the wind simply stops. The water calms. Without you having to lift a single finger, the surface turns to pure glass. And in that absolute stillness, the lake perfectly reflects the light of the moon, revealing the immense, quiet depth below. This is exactly what happens when you finally stop consuming the opinions of the world. In modern life, when you feel lost, your first instinct is to ask everyone else for directions. You read endless advice. You seek validation from your peers. You look at how other people have structured their success. You keep stirring the water, hoping that more movement will somehow create clarity. But the answers to your deepest questions are not hiding in another conversation, another achievement, or another distraction. They have been inside you all along, patiently waiting for you to stop moving long enough to notice them. Ask yourself, when was the last time you sat in complete silence, without a screen, without a task, and simply allowed yourself to exist? What are you afraid that quiet inner voice will ask you to change if you finally give it space to speak? Pause. Breathe. Give yourself the gift of an empty room today. Let the restless thoughts spin and shout, but do not follow them. Observe them like passing weather. Let the mud slowly settle to the bottom, because peace is not found by adding more information to your life. It is found by stripping away the noise until only your undeniable truth remains. But once you finally hear that truth, you must decide what to do with the walls you have already built. And this is where the next truth begins. Because stepping into your authentic path does not require burning everything to the ground. 7. The gentle dismantling. What if walking away from the life you no longer want does not require a dramatic explosion? Here is a truth that goes against everything we are conditioned to believe. When you finally realize you need to make a massive change, your mind immediately jumps to extremes. You imagine you have to quit your job tomorrow, pack your bags, cut off everyone who disagrees with you, and run away to start over. Because the realization of living a borrowed life feels so sudden and intense, you assume the solution must be equally dramatic. But this terrifying vision of chaos is exactly what keeps you paralyzed. You look at the sheer scale of burning your entire life to the ground, and the fear becomes so overwhelming that you decide it is safer to just stay exactly where you are, quietly suffering. Buddhist wisdom teaches us that true transformation does not require violence against our current reality. We suffer because we believe we must aggressively fight our circumstances to be free of them. But in Buddhist thought, letting go is an act of supreme gentleness. It is the middle way. You do not need to fiercely attack the life you built, nor do you need to surrender and be crushed by it. Non-attachment is not about forcefully ripping things away. It is simply about unclenching your hand. Imagine a thick, weathered rope that has been tied into an incredibly tight, complex knot. For years, the tension has been pulled so hard that the fibers have practically fused together. When you first realize you need to untie it, the instinct is to grab both ends and pull as fiercely as you can. You yank at it. You fight it with all your strength in a state of sheer panic, but pulling aggressively only makes the knot tighter, harder, and more impossible to break. The only way to untie a knot like this is with profound patience. You sit down, you closely observe the loops, you gently loosen one single thread, then you loosen another. You do not force it. You slowly create space, and eventually, the knot simply falls apart in your hands. This is exactly how you must approach the dismantling of your borrowed life. In a modern world that glorifies the sudden, dramatic leap, remember that real change often happens quietly. You do not have to ruin your finances or blow up in your career today. You simply start dedicating one quiet hour a night to the thing that actually feeds your spirit. You do not have to forcefully confront a draining relationship in a loud argument. You simply start taking a little longer to reply, gently creating distance. You stop volunteering for tasks that drain your soul. You stop nodding along with opinions you do not hold. You dismantle the false life, one small, quiet decision at a time. Ask yourself, are you using the fear of a massive disruption as an excuse to avoid taking one tiny step? What is one small thing you can stop doing today that belongs entirely to the old version of you? Pause, breathe, release the intense pressure to fix your entire existence by tomorrow morning. Do not panic. You do not have to forcefully tear down the walls today. Just stop maintaining them. Because true peace is not found in the dramatic destruction of your past. It is found in the calm, deliberate choice to stop feeding what no longer serves you. But once you begin removing the heavy pieces of the life that was not yours, a bare, honest space remains. And this is where the next truth begins. Because the strength you need to rebuild is entirely different from the strength you use to survive. 8. Rebuilding on truth. What if true strength has nothing to do with how much you can endure, but how honestly you can exist? Here is a deep misconception. For years, you believed that strength meant pure resilience in the face of misery. You thought being strong meant surviving a soul-draining workplace, maintaining relationships that felt like a relentless performance, and pushing yourself forward, no matter how heavy the burden became. You gritted your teeth. You built a fortress out of endurance. But living entirely on willpower is not strength. It is simply survival. Building an identity strictly on your ability to endure pain, it means you are constantly preparing for a battle instead of making a peaceful home. Buddhist wisdom teaches us an entirely different kind of strength. It points to the concept of natural alignment, often reflected in the practice of right effort. We usually believe that effort requires intense struggling, fighting, and pushing against the grain. We are taught that if something is not exhausting, it must not be truly valuable. But in Buddhist thought, true effort is not about forcing the world to bend. It is about removing the friction between who you are and what you do. When your life is aligned with your deep inner truth, you no longer need heavy armor. You are no longer defending a carefully crafted image. Your power does not come from your ability to fight, but from an unshakable grounding in reality. Imagine a powerful river flowing down a mountain toward the vast ocean. As it moves, it encounters massive, immovable boulders, fallen trees, and steep drops. But the river does not stop and try to aggressively crush the stones in its path. It does not waste its profound energy fighting the immovable mountain. It simply yields. Finding the path of natural flow, it moves around the obstacles, softly washing over them, and quietly carving a deep, majestic canyon over centuries. Its true strength is not in rigidity or violence, but in its relentless, quiet devotion to its own nature. The river does not need to brutally force its way to the sea. It simply remains true to its course, and the journey unfolds naturally. This is exactly the quiet strength you must embrace as you begin to rebuild your life. In the modern world, we are heavily pressured to hustle, to grind, to forcefully carve our names into society, and to aggressively fight for our place at tables we do not even enjoy. But as you step into your authenticity, you realize that the most powerful thing you can do is stop forcing. You stop trying to convince people to see your inherent value. You stop pouring your soul into projects that feel like pushing a massive stone up a steep hill. You begin to seek out the work, the people, and the environments that feel like a steady, natural current. You discover that doing less of what is false gives you boundless, quiet energy for what is real. Ask yourself, where in your life are you still completely exhausted from fighting the mountain? What would happen if you stopped trying to aggressively force your path and simply allowed yourself to move toward what naturally draws your spirit? Pause, breathe, feel the quiet power in simply being exactly who you are right now. You do not need to constantly fight to justify your existence. Do your part, then release the struggle. Because a life built on pure honesty does not need to be fiercely defended, it simply stands on its own. But stepping fully into this honest space means coming to terms with the entirety of the journey you have taken to get here. And this is where the final truth begins. Because arriving at your true life does not mean the end of uncertainty, but the beginning of profound freedom. 9. The freedom of an honest life. What if you finally realized that the peace you have been desperately searching for, it was waiting for you in the very uncertainty you tried to avoid? Think back to the beginning of this journey. Think of that quiet panic, that heavy exhaustion of realizing the life you built did not belong to you. You spent so many years polishing the bars of a beautifully carved cage, terrified of what would happen if you ever stepped outside. You carried the crushing weight of a mask, completely drained by the endless performance of living for someone else's approval. You thought the confusion meant you were broken. You believed that because you had no immediate plan, you were falling behind. But as you have seen, the deepest pain was never the uncertainty itself. The pain was in how fiercely you resisted it. Buddhist wisdom reminds us that awakening is not about arriving at a perfect, unshakable destination where nothing ever goes wrong again. Awakening is simply the dropping of illusions. It is the profoundly quiet realization that you do not need to hold on to the face, a false identity, just because you spent a long time building it. Non-attachment is not about losing everything you love. It is about realizing you are no longer chained to the desperate need to control the outcome. The empty space you feared so deeply is not a terrifying void. It is the vast, open sky of your own freedom. Imagine standing at the threshold of a wide-open door, Behind you is the grand, heavy room where you spent your life holding up the ceiling for everyone else. In front of you is a simple, quiet path winding into a completely unknown landscape. You do not have a map. You do not know exactly where it leads. But for the first time in your life, your hands are completely empty. Your shoulders are incredibly light. The heavy armor has been left on the floor behind you. And as you take that first step into the wild, open unknown, you realize something beautiful. You are not walking away from your life. You are finally walking toward yourself. This is the quiet strength of an honest life. In a modern world that relentlessly demands constant certainty and rigid plans, it takes immense courage to look at a completed picture and admit that it is not yours. It takes profound self-respect to sit in the messy, confusing space of uncertainty and say, I do not know what comes next, but I know I can no longer abandon myself to stay comfortable. Every wrong turn you took built the deep, invisible roots you need to stand tall today. Every moment you sat terrified in the fog taught you how to finally listen to your own inner whisper. You are allowed to change your mind. You are allowed to gracefully outgrow the dreams that once kept you safe. You are allowed to gently dismantle the borrowed life, thread by thread, until only your truth remains. Ask yourself one final time, are you ready to let the old life go? Pause, breathe, feel the steady rhythm of your own heart. You do not need to figure out the rest of your story today. You only need to take one honest step. Trust the empty space. Trust the quiet strength that has slowly emerged from the ruins of your old expectations. If these lessons touched your heart, share this video with someone who may need a little more peace today. You can let go now.